Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are undertaking a truly peculiar journey. We're strapping ourselves into a literary sandboat, you could say, and going completely off-road into the whimsical, yet, well, deeply strange extended world of fairyland.
Yeah, we're plunging into a stack of source material detailing a trip that begins in, frankly, the most unromantic place imaginable, mundane Kansas, and immediately just spirals into this magical, philosophical chaos.
That's right. We are navigating these sudden shifts and the really oddball residents of L. Frank Baum's 1909 novel, The Road to Oz.
It's the fifth book in the original Oz canon.
Yeah.
And the sheer volume of new concepts, bizarre characters, and honestly satirical world building we encounter it's astonishing.
So our mission today is to distill not just what happened, but maybe why Baum put these specific ingredients together, particularly these contrasting societies, and maybe the ultimate truth about magic and morality in this world.
Exactly. We need to unpack that.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately because before we even step foot on the road, the very existence of this book, it's kind of a testament to the power of the audience, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We usually talk about authorial intent, but the preface here basically suggests the author was, well, forced back to the typewriter by overwhelming popular demand.
Right, the context is everything.
Yeah.
Baum had previously written Dorothy and the Wizard of
Oh,
Oz,
the fourth one, yeah.
and he fully intended, it seems, to write stories that were not about Oz. He thought he was done.
He really did. He felt he'd exhausted that particular vein of magic, but then he recounts being fairly deluged with letters from children across the country, imploring him, demanding him, really, to write more about Dorothy and more about Oz and definitely bring back her old friends.
It's like the original fan mandate. He essentially just confesses that his creative choice was completely overridden by what his readers wanted.
It's a marvelous illustration of how early 20th century children's literature functioned. The relationship was different.
And he explicitly accepts this role.
Oh, yeah. He notes he writes only to please the children, respecting their wishes above his own desire to explore, new creative territories. It's almost this democratic vision of authorship.
Where the reader holds the veto power.
Exactly. And the most charming example of this kind of creative concession is the dog, Toto.
Toto, right.
Baum actually acknowledges that Toto is included in this journey only because the audience wanted him there. The previous book had Toto, and the readers just insisted he had to be back.
That level of detail, the demand for a specific pet, it really shows how intensely proprietary the readers felt about Oz, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But if he was mandated to return, he was certainly going to make it interesting. He didn't just, trot out the old cast. He uses this forced return to introduce completely new dynamics.
Okay, how so?
Well, he signals his intention right in the preface. He introduces new characters that he hopes the readers will love, noting they bring a new element of fun to the stories.
And those are...
Those three pivotal new travelers. The Shaggy Man, who becomes Dorothy's sort of guide, the perpetually lost Button Braid, and the ethereal Polychrome, the Rainbow's daughter. Baum is basically testing the market for future Oz inhabitants right here.
Smart. And as if addressing the audience mandate wasn't enough to generate hype, he ends the preface with a really famous literary tease, doesn't he?
Oh, the classic Baum cliffhanger. He hints at having received very remarkable news from the land of Oz, which has greatly astonished him, and which, tantalizingly, he says he must save for the next book.
So you have to buy the next one.
Exactly. What makes this so captivating is he immediately links this hidden information to the possibility of closure. He speculates that the following volume might very well be the last story that will ever be told about the land of Oz.
Which, of course, it wasn't. But what a hook.
It generates huge anticipation while cleverly framing the next book as potentially the final definitive word, genius self-promotion.
Okay, so you have to buy this book to understand why he wrote it. You have to buy the next book to see if it's really the end. Clever. Let's jump from the meta-narrative straight into the story itself. Section 2 kicks off with Dorothy, our perennial, grounded Kansas girl, in the most mundane scenario possible. Just giving directions.
The contrast is just perfect, isn't it? Dorothy is confident. She's totally in her element. She meets this character, the Shaggy Man, who's chewing on an oat straw.
Very rustic.
And she offers him precise, practical directions to the town of Butterfield. Cross the 10-acre lot, follow the lane, reach the highway, find the branching roads. Simple. She knows this route.
She's probably driven it dozens of times with Uncle Henry. But the Shaggy Man immediately introduces the first note of, well, high strangeness and maybe philosophical divergence.
Right, he wasn't asking for directions to get there.
No, then why ask?
He reveals he only wanted to know the road so he could avoid it by mistake.
Avoid it. By mistake. How does that even work?
Well, the reason is fascinating. It turns out a man in Butterfield owes him this tiny sum, 15 cents.
15 cents.
And the Shaggy Man does not want the money. He avoids it on principle, declaring, and this is a direct quote, "Money makes people proud and haughty."
Okay, wait, let's pause on that for a second. This isn't just quirkiness. That's a pretty profound statement about humility and societal corruption right at the very start.
It really is. He's choosing a wandering, possibly difficult path simply to avoid the moral complication of owning money.
Is this genuine anti-materialism, though? Or is he maybe rationalizing some deeper personal issue?
It feels like it could be both, right? And Baum uses this ambiguity to just propel the plot forward. It sets the theme immediately. The goal here isn't physical navigation, it's moral navigation.
Interesting.
And because the Shaggy Man's aim is so paradoxical to avoid a known destination, the universe seems to respond instantly. The mundane Kansas landscape just dissolves.
Go.
They reach the expected branching roads, but instead of the 5 Dorothy knows, there are suddenly 17 of them, radiating outwards as many as the spokes of a wheel.
17 roads in Kansas.
Exactly. And all the familiar signs of civilization, the highway, the gopher holes, that dead stump she knew, they just vanish.
Dorothy, who was the expert guide moments before, is now hopelessly lost. And she emphasizes, in the unromantic state of Kansas, the magic starts before they leave home.
So the environment literally bends to the philosophy of the traveler. Wow. And the source of the Shaggy Man's odd luck, his charm, and eventual safe return to Oz. That's revealed pretty quickly too, isn't it? The love magnet.
Yes, the source of his, let's call it, charm. He pulls out this small, dull, brown metal parcel shaped like a horseshoe. It is the love magnet.
And the story of how he got it is typically Baum, right? Bizarre.
Beautifully strange. He got it from an Eskimo,
Okay.
but not in the Arctic. He received it in the Sandwich Islands.
The Sandwich Islands, like Hawaii?
Apparently, and he casually clarifies about these Sandwich Islands, there are no sandwiches at all.
He just delivers these bizarre geographical non sequiturs like they're the most natural facts in the world. Amazing. Tell us about the magnet's actual function. Its function is absolute, total emotional manipulation. Every living thing I meet will love me dearly.
Everyone, automatically.
That's the claim. The Shaggy Man attributes his safety, why he never gets harmed or robbed, not really to his own virtue, but mostly to this charm. He uses the magnet's effect to justify his vagrancy, claiming he is good, too, but the magnet is clearly presented as his primary shield against a potentially dangerous world.
But the source material gives us that really grim anecdote about the previous owner. It reminds us that forced affection. Well, it comes at an emotional cost.
Oh, absolutely. It highlights the tyranny of constant unearned love. The Eskimo, the story goes, relinquished the magnet because he got tired being loved and longed for someone to hate him.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. The moment he gave it up, he was immediately eaten by a grizzly bear. And the Shaggy Man adds this crucial detail. The bear had no conscience.
Ah, conscience, that comes up again later, doesn't it?
It's a recurring, critical theme. This detail about the conscienceless bear is a vital precursor. It hints that in this magical world, morality and emotional capacity are measurable, almost tangible concepts, and may be necessary for survival.
Okay, so they proceed, magnet safely in pocket, down the 7th road, which Dorothy notes is a lucky number for little girls named Dorothy, and they immediately stumble upon the next mystery, the ultimate blank slate, you called it, in Section 3.
They meet Button Bright. He's just a little boy, dressed in sailor clothes, calmly digging a hole in the road with a stick.
Just digging a hole?
Yep. He is the personification of lost innocence, maybe. Or perhaps profound ignorance. He can answer absolutely nothing. When Dorothy asks his name, his home, how he even got there, he repeatedly answers with the single declarative phrase, "Don't know."
Don't know to everything?
Everything. Name, don't know. Home, don't know. How'd you get here? Don't know.
He's like the physical manifestation of being utterly unburdened by knowledge or identity. It's kind of zen in a weird way.
It is. The magnet-fueled group naturally welcomes him. The magnet makes everyone friendly, and they soon arrive at Foxville.
Okay, Foxville, the first of these deeply satirical stops.
Absolutely. They enter through this really highly aesthetic arch decorated with carved peacocks, centered by a fox's head wearing spectacles and a golden crown.
Spectacles and a crown. Okay.
Everything just screams superficial sophistication. The guards are fox soldiers in these elaborate uniforms, green jackets, yellow pantaloons, red boots.
Very colorful.
And they carry wooden swords set with sharp teeth. Real teeth.
Wooden swords with teeth.
If
That's
wood-
unnerving. But the love magnet, of course, just cuts through the aggression immediately.
Oh, instantly effective. The soldiers go from yelling surrender to greeting them like old friends, inviting them to see their king, King Dox.
And the city itself.
The entire city is built of carved marble, ostentatiously decorated with carved images of fowl. Peacocks, turkeys, geese everywhere.
Fowl. Like birds.
Yes, birds they presumably eat. And the fox inhabitants are designated civilized because they wear these handsomely woven feather gowns. They actually believe this is vastly superior to wearing their own natural skins.
So civilization is defined entirely by adopting impractical, showy clothing. That sounds familiar.
It's a very pointed critique of vanity and status, isn't it? It leaps right off the page.
Definitely. What about the monarch, this King Dox?
King Dox, officially Renard IV, is immediately preoccupied with displaying his own wisdom. He already knows Dorothy. Apparently she's famous because of her friendship with Princess Ozma.
Word travels fast in fairyland.
It seems so. But he's also captivated by Button Bright's simplicity. Button Bright innocently asks why the Wren in Renard the King's name is nothing at all.
A good question, actually.
And then when the king asks Button Bright if he knows why 2 and 2 make 4, the boy just answers no.
Which is surprisingly profound. I mean, do we know why? We just know it is.
Precisely. The king views this philosophical honesty as the highest form of cleverness, because Button Bright articulates that nobody knows why, we only know it's so.
Okay, so the king is impressed by this lack of knowledge.
He sees it as profound wisdom. And to reward this incredible insight, King Dox decides to bestow a favor that, in his mind, matches the boy's apparent shrewdness.
Oh no. What does he do?
He magically changes Button Bright's pretty face and curls into a fox head, sharp nose, pointed ears.
He gives the boy a fox head as a favor.
As a great honor, yes. To match his wisdom.
That is the ultimate cautionary tale about accepting unearned rewards, isn't it? The child who is perfectly content to not know is suddenly burdened with the appearance of sly intelligence, which naturally makes him miserable.
Absolutely miserable. And of course, the king, like all bad magicians in these stories, it seems, cannot reverse the process.
Can't change him back.
Nope. He claims his magic only works one way. This transformation is now a permanent souvenir of the boy's moment of accidental philosophical brilliance.
Oh, Button Bright, this is not going well for him.
Not at all. And the irony is just compounded by the dinner they have, which reveals the fundamental hypocrisy of Foxville society.
Right, you mentioned the fowl carvings. They claim to be gentle and kind, civilized, but they feast on the very things they use for decoration.
The menu is an absolute contradiction of their self-proclaimed gentle nature. They have chicken soup, roasted turkey, stewed duck, fried grouse, broiled quail, and goose pie.
Wow, that's quite the poultry spread.
Their obsession with eating fowl directly undercuts King Dox's vehement hatred of the ancient writer Aesop.
Aesop? Why Aesop?
Dox hates Aesop because the author always made them out cruel and wicked. The king insists that civilized foxes like them are gentle and kind.
While serving goose pie.
Exactly. They want the reputation of moral superiority while clinging to a predatory existence. It's pure cognitive dissonance.
Classic case of public relations over reality. So feeling, I imagine, pretty unsafe due to this one-way magic, the group decides to move on quickly.
Very quickly. And in section 4, they almost immediately encounter Polychrome, the rainbow's daughter.
Ah, Polychrome. This feels like a shift, doesn't it? From satire to pure fantasy.
It really does. Polychrome is the introduction of just pure, unadulterated fantasy into the sort of pragmatic chaos of the journey so far. She's beautiful, radiant, clad in these flowing, gauzy, rainbow-tinted robes.
Sound ethereal.
And they find her dancing but also weeping. She's physically lost because she apparently slid off the end of her father's rainbow.
Slid off a rainbow.
Which had briefly touched the road they were on, but the rainbow melted before she could hold fast and get back to the sky.
So she's literally stranded light. She must be incredibly delicate.
Extremely. She's used to living nearer the sun, she says, which makes her very sensitive to the cold, even though the weather is quite mild for Dorothy and the others.
And her diet reflects this, right? Not exactly goose pie.
Not at all. She prefers dewdrops, mist cakes, and cloud buns. Though she does find the turkey they share good, she eats very, very little. She's light, fragile, utterly out of place among shaggy men and lost boys with fox heads.
Okay, so they add this delicate rainbow creature to their already strange group. Where do they head next?
Their next stop is the philosophical and architectural opposite of Foxville, the city of Dunkiton, inhabited entirely by donkeys.
Donkeys. Okay, so after the vanity of foxes, what's the donkey philosophy?
Where the foxes prize that ostentatious sophistication, the donkey's champion, utilitarian, inborn wisdom.
Inborn wisdom.
Yeah. The donkeys wear only simple white collars, high-pointed caps, and some golds and silver bangles. They use their front hoofs as hands. Their city is very haphazard low, square, whitewashed brick houses, deliberately constructed without organized streets. They view straight roads as marks for stupid people.
No straight roads. Interesting. And their defense against the highly organized, teeth-wielding foxes?
Pure noise. It's described as an awful noise, created by hundreds of donkeys simultaneously pounding their heels against suspended sheets of tin and iron.
Just banging on metal.
It's a brute force, almost anti-intellectual defense system, which leads us right into donkey wisdom, which is perhaps even more self-satisfied than the fox philosophy.
How so?
Well, a gray donkey they meet asserts that the very word donkey actually means clever.
It means clever, says who?
Says the Encyclopedia Donkaniara, apparently, their own self-published encyclopedia.
Of course. So their inherent nature is tied to their word for wisdom. This leads to their core cultural conclusion, which sounds like it flies directly in the face of, well, all learned society.
It absolutely does. They believe all donkeys are born wise.
Born wise.
Born wise. And the terrifying logical conclusion of this idea is that books are only fit for those who know nothing.
Wow. Why bother learning or recording history if wisdom is just innate?
Exactly. It's a philosophy that completely rejects the effort of knowledge transfer, of study, of critical thinking. This, too, feels like a massive point of cultural commentary from Baum, a real skewering of smug ignorance.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And this philosophy of inherited, unearned wisdom, it sets the stage perfectly for the second transformation, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
The Shaggy Man, the guy who avoids money to maintain humility, is about to be rewarded for his flattery with the head of an animal that defines wisdom as the rejection of knowledge. Oh, the irony.
It's thick, isn't it? King Kikabray, the white donkey monarch, is profoundly susceptible to the Shaggy Man's polite, probably magnet-enhanced flattery.
The magnet's still working then.
Oh, yeah. The king declares the Shaggy Man too wise and admirable to be a mere man, so waving his staff.
Here we go again.
The king bestows upon him a donkey's head as a greatest gift, complete with long ears and the unfortunate ability to bray loudly.
So the man trying to avoid haughty pride by rejecting 15 cents is now literally endowed with the visage of vanity and anti-intellectualism. The punishment fits the self-deception perfectly, doesn't it?
It's almost poetic justice.
Yeah.
And maintaining the narrative consistency of bad fairyland magic, King Kikabray confirms the one-way nature of his ability. I can do things, but I can't undo them.
Of course he can't. So now we have two travelers with temporary bizarre transformations, a fox head and a donkey head. This really clarifies the journey's immediate objective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They have to find the cure. And the only cure mentioned is bathing in the Truth Pond, which conveniently is located somewhere in the land of Oz.
So a destination now has a very practical, immediate, and literal purpose. Moral and physical correction.
Yeah.
They need to get to Oz to get their heads back.
Exactly. They escape Dunkiton, heading toward the yellow winky trees, which signals they're getting closer to Oz, and thankfully they find the pond.
Ah, the Truth Pond. Finally.
This is a real moment of narrative release. You feel it. The pool is crystal clear, perfectly reflective, which is why Polychrome, the light element, loves it immediately. Underneath the water, there's a...
Simple and direct.
And Button Bright, maybe just out of misery or maybe just clumsily accidentally falls in.
Right.
Instantly, his fox head vanishes, replaced by his own chubby face and curls. He's back to normal.
Thank goodness for Button Bright and the Shaggy Man.
He sees this, dives right in, and poof, his donkey head is replaced by his own shaggy head. The pond works.
So it's a physical restoration. But you mentioned it has a moral effect, too.
Yes, it seems the Truth Pond does its restorative work physically, but it also subtly activates its long-term moral effect. Bathing in it initiates this process of moral honesty that will eventually force the Shaggy Man to confess the truth about how he really got the love magnet later on.
Ah, so it's not just a magic pool, it's a catalyst for conscience.
Exactly. Baum has created this system where truth and genuine self-knowledge are the ultimate magical corrective. It cleanses the outside and starts working on the inside.
Fascinating. Okay, so restored and closer to Oz, the travelers hit Section 5, the final and most perilous stretch before they reach the deadly desert. And their first encounter is, well, auditory hell. The music.
Ciao, the music, or Allegro da Capo. He's described as a short, fat man whose lungs are permanently full of reeds.
Reeds, like in an instrument.
Exactly, which cause constant, inescapable music. The book writes it as tiddle whittle iddle, pom pom, to play incessantly whenever he breathes.
You can't stop it.
Never. His speech, naturally, is sung, and it's incredibly self-congratulatory. He's basically a walking, boastful noise machine. He sings, "I wear no band around me, and yet I am a band."
Oh my goodness, what a potent metaphor for inescapable self-obsession. The worst torture must be being forced to listen to your own endless, repetitive song, even if you're convinced you're brilliant.
The Shaggy Man observed the tragedy perfectly. He notes that the travelers only have to hear it briefly, but the poor musicer must listen to himself forever.
That's horrifying.
This self-contained, inescapable musical loop is apparently why he lives in solitude. His own sound has forced him into isolation because his neighbors, the Shaggy Man speculates, might otherwise do him an injury.
Can't blame them, really. Okay, so they quickly move on from the noise pollution and face a genuine physical threat. The Scoodlers. This is where the journey gets legitimately terrifying, right?
This is probably the darkest, most violent encounter in the book. They enter this rocky, barren area and meet the Scoodlers.
Describe them. What are they like?
They're slender, human-shaped figures covered in tight black cloth, but their most horrifying feature is their duality. They have two fronts, two faces.
Two faces.
Yes, one side is black with yellow hair. The reverse side is white like a clown with purple hair. And they have these T-shaped feet, which means they can maneuver instantly in either direction. No sneaking up on a Scoodler.
Creepy. And their intent is not friendly, I take it.
Immediate and lethal. They're not sophisticated like the foxes. They seem to be pure base malice. They just start yelling, "Soup!" at the traveler.
That's their soup.
Revealing their cannibalistic intentions. They plan to run them through the meat chopper. This is the critical moment where the love magnet, the Shaggy Man's supposedly infallible shield against harm, is finally rendered useless.
It doesn't work on them.
When he tries to appeal to them with the charm, they just yell back, "We love you in soup!"
We love you in soup. Oh my God, that one line just changes everything we thought we knew about the love magnet. It establishes this huge loophole.
Yeah.
Affection, when it's predatory, doesn't guarantee safety at all.
Not one bit. It simply guarantees that the predator wants you for dinner.
It demonstrates the magnet isn't really a charm against harm. It's merely a charm against indifference. True malicious self-interest can just incorporate that forced affection.
Exactly. And their weapon is unique and shocking. They can remove their own heads and hurl them like projectiles.
They throw their head.
Yeah. Two Scoodlers immediately pick their heads right off their shoulders and throw them, knocking the Shaggy Man down hard.
Okay, this is bad. How do they get out of this?
Well, the Shaggy Man, who was just rewarded with a donkey head for his philosophical approach, now has to rely on the only truly practical skill he seems to have brought from the mundane world: baseball.
Baseball. Seriously.
It's a wonderfully absurd, almost American turn. Realizing the magnet is useless, the Shaggy Man uses what he calls his baseball skills. He turns the attack into this brutal, decisive sports match.
What does he do?
As the Scoodlers throw their heads, the Shaggy Man starts catching them. And one by one, he tosses them into the deep, black gulf nearby.
He throws their heads into a chasm.
Permanently incapacitating the headless bodies, which are apparently just left wriggling uselessly on the cave floor. He even specifically makes sure to catch and throw the Queen's crimson and yellow head down as well, ending the threat completely.
That is incredibly violent for a children's book, but also kind of awesome. Resourceful.
It's intense. Having escaped certain death and mass consumption, they reach the final, seemingly uncrossable barrier: the deadly desert. The warning sign is chillingly clear. The deadly sands will turn any living flesh to dust in an instant.
Right, the great desert protecting Oz. This is the ultimate roadblock separating the chaotic, external fairylands from the ordered safety of Oz itself. It can't be crossed by normal means, right?
Correct. But the Shaggy Man, having just proven his resourcefulness and maybe his moral worth by saving everyone from the Scoodlers, has perhaps earned the right to use his special, powerful magic, the other magic associated with the magnet.
What does he do?
He resets the love magnet rhyme. Dear Johnny Do It, come to me. I need you bad as bad can be.
Johnny Do It. Okay, isn't that fascinating? The same man who rejects the whole idea of money and labor, who was just gifted a donkey head for valuing innate wisdom, now has to rely on a magical charm to summon the absolute champion of work.
It really shows the complexity of Baum's moral landscape, doesn't it? You can't live entirely by a philosophy of pure anti-materialism, or pure anything, it seems. Sometimes you just need skilled labor.
So who is Johnny Do It?
Johnny Do It appears instantly. A cheery, gray-haired little man, hands tough from work, carrying a copper chest full of magic tools. His entire philosophy is the antithesis of the donkeys. His little work song is all about the virtue of labor. The only real unhappy one is he who dares to shirk. The only really happy one is he who cares to work. And he immediately affirms he never wastes time.
The ultimate industrious figure, a magical handyman. And he builds their transport instantly.
In mere minutes. Using his magic tools, he fells a tree, saws it into boards, and constructs this fantastic sandboat with runners and sails designed to skim over the deadly sands.
Amazing. So they climb aboard.
They do, and the terrifying crossing begins. They fly over the desert at incredible speed, but the entrance to Oz isn't exactly gentle. The journey ends with a violent crash into some rocks right on the border.
A crash. Are they okay?
It sends the travelers soaring through the air. But thankfully, they land safely, if abruptly, in the yellow Winky country, the domain of the Tin Woodman. They've made it.
Phew. We have finally made it to Oz in Section 6, and they land specifically in the yellow country of the Winkies, ruled by the Tin Woodman, Nick Chopper.
Right. Their safe arrival is immediately confirmed by the yellow color scheme everywhere, and Dorothy recalls her own history there, how she freed the Winkies from the Wicked Witch of the West, which led to Nick Chopper becoming their emperor.
But this whole journey, the getting lost, the transformations, it wasn't accidental, was it? Ozma orchestrated the welcome, right? She knew they were coming.
Yes, exactly. It's revealed that Ozma, having seen them struggling along in her magic picture, had already dispatched a greeting committee. Tick-Tock and Billina the hen.
Ah, Tick-Tock, the original robot.
The burnished copper machine man. And we get this beautiful, detailed explanation of his internal mechanics. He has 3 separate systems, thoughts, speech, and action, and each must be wound up separately with different keys. He's the world's most high-maintenance companion.
And if that maintenance lapses, the results are chaotic.
Very. When his thoughts run down, his speech immediately breaks down into just nonsensical, babbling, unmeaning words. Billina, the practical yellow hen, is there to explain the necessary rewinding procedure to the newcomers.
It's a fantastic detail. Even in a magical society, technology still requires diligent management. You got to wind your robot.
Precisely. And Billina has her own amazing news, which really illustrates her practical, if somewhat confusing, approach to motherhood.
Oh yeah, what's her news?
Her wonderful news is that she has successfully hatched 10 chicks.
10? That's great for Billina.
And he's named them all Dorothy.
All 10? Why?
When asked why, she explains very matter-of-factly it was so hard to tell them apart, so she just simplified the whole naming process. When she calls Dorothy, all 10 come running. Problem solved.
That's wonderfully practical. A funny example of how individuality sometimes gives way to pure utility in fairyland.
Definitely. So the group proceeds to the Tin Woodman's castle, which is now built entirely of polished tin to prevent rust.
Smart move for him.
Which leads us to perhaps the most critical philosophical discussion in the whole book. The Oz economy.
Right. This is where Baum really lays out the utopian vision.
This is where he cements Oz as a true utopian society, and in doing so directly validates the Shaggy Man's earlier, maybe naive-seeming anti-materialism. The Tin Woodman declares that the use of money is considered vulgar in Oz.
No money at all. How does anything work?
There is no money, no rich, and no poor. The entire system is based on altruism and, crucially, controlled scarcity or maybe just lack of desire for excess. People provide what others wish for simply in order to make him happy, and critically, no one cares to have more than he can use.
That is the philosophical apex of the journey, isn't it? In Kansas, the Shaggy Man chose to be poor to avoid moral corruption. Here in Oz, the entire society is structured to eliminate that corruption by eliminating the very currency of greed.
Exactly. And the Shaggy Man is absolutely delighted. This confirms his decision to stay in Oz immediately. It's the society society he was unknowingly searching for.
Makes perfect sense. But the Oz society still has its quirks, right? Including Jack Pumpkinhead, who's living in this massive, hollow pumpkin house and dealing with his own ongoing existential crisis.
Poor Jack. He's the most ephemeral of the original Oz characters, constantly decaying.
How's he doing in this book?
He tells them he's now on his 4th pumpkin head. He's actually buried the mortal part of the spoiled heads in a little private graveyard behind his pumpkin house.
A pumpkinhead graveyard. Morbidly charming.
And he now has to raise his own pumpkins diligently to ensure he's never without a spare head when the current one goes bad. He also confirms that his current head is wiser than the last one because, as he observes, the seeds in this one are better.
The seeds of wisdom can be literal and replaceable in Oz. That's fantastic.
Isn't it? Then finally, the Cowardly Lion and the Hungry Tiger arrive, pulling Ozma's spectacular jewel-studded golden chariot to take them to the Emerald City.
And the Hungry Tiger.
Oh,
He's still grappling with his conscience.
oh, yes. He confirms his conscience still rules him like a tyrant, preventing him from eating fat babies. Or he eyes Polychrome and adds, her. Though he does note Polychrome would make a fine, variegated breakfast.
Huh. Even in utopia, temptation exists.
The internal struggle between desire and morality remains a core part of Oz, even for the most powerful creatures. And Dorothy rides in the royal chariot, which prompts her to explain her dual identity.
Right, she's different here than in Kansas.
She reveals she is a princess in Oz, a title given by Ozma, but back home she's just a country girl in Kansas where she helps Aunt Em with chores like churning butter and washing dishes. She belongs equally in both the fantastic and the practical worlds.
That duality is so key to her character. Okay, the stage is now set for the grand celebration in Section 7, Ozma's birthday party. When Dorothy finally meets Ozma, the princess reveals the hidden truth behind the whole chaotic journey. It was basically a masterful manipulation, wasn't it?
Completely. The manipulative orchestration goes right back to that chaos with the roads in Kansas. Ozma confesses she was responsible. She deliberately mixed up those roads to ensure Dorothy would wander onto the magical path leading toward Oz.
She made them get lost.
Purposefully. And then she watched their entire terrifying progress, including the Scoodlers and the awful transformations, via her magic picture. It wasn't random magic, it was calculated love, you might say. A strategic act of destiny management to bring her friend home.
Okay, that raises a huge question, though. If Ozma is powerful enough to manipulate destiny like that, why allow her friends, Dorothy's companions, to be transformed into a fox and a donkey? That seems cruel. Was this some kind of lesson she needed them to learn?
It really seems like it must have been. The transformations, and especially the encounter with the Truth Bond, ultimately forced the Shaggy Man into honesty. It prepared him for life in a truly moral society where secrets like his stolen magnet wouldn't fit. It was almost like a required moral cleansing before he could fully join Oz.
A tough love approach from Ozma. Okay, now, for her birthday, Ozma outlines this truly comprehensive, incredibly bizarre guest list. It really demonstrates the massive scope of the Fairyland cosmos Baum had built by this point.
Oh, the guest list is pure fantastical celebrity spotting. It's a remarkable diplomatic gathering.
Who are some of the highlights?
Well, King Dox and King Kikabray were invited, just as Dorothy had promised them back in their kingdoms, which shows Ozma's capacity for forgiveness, or at least keeping promises made by her friends.
Even after they turned her friends' heads into animals.
Apparently. But she explicitly excluded the musicer for being too noisy a practical decision, you have to admit. Key attendees include Glinda the Good Sorceress, whose magic, Dorothy notes, has no humbug, confirming its ethical superiority over some others they've met.
Good distinction. But the arrival of Santa Claus, that radically expands the universe, doesn't it? It connects Oz to global mythology in a really direct way.
It's huge. Santa Claus arrives not with reindeer, but with his highly specific retinue, the Rills, tiny creatures who paint the colors of flowers.
The Rills.
And the Nooks, who water the trees and are described as crooked and gnarled from their hard work.
Looks. Got it.
And Santa, being Santa, immediately recognizes Button Bright from previous Christmas Eves and knows exactly where the lost boy lives, instantly solving the existential mystery that plagued the travelers for the entire book.
Huh. Just like that. That's a great example of the practical utility of magic in Oz. Problem solved by Santa.
Who else? Any other wonderfully bizarre attendees?
Oh, yeah. We have royalty from adjacent magical lands like King Dough I, who is a living gingerbread man.
The gingerbread king.
And his companion, Chick the Cherub, who's described as an incubator baby, whatever that means. and holds the highly specific title of head bullywag.
Head bullywag, okay.
Then there's Queen Zixes of X, who's described as having lived for thousands of years, but possesses the secret of eternal beauty. The whole guest list just establishes Oz as the undisputed center of the known magical universe by this point in the series. It's quite the party.
Yeah.
Now, let's return to that philosophical loose end. The love magnet. After bathing in the truth pond, the Shaggy Man is sort of compelled to tell the whole truth about the ultimate charm, right?
Right. The truth is delivered very matter-of-factly now. He confesses to Ozma that he didn't receive it from an Eskimo. He actually stole the love magnet from a girl back in Butterfield.
Stole it. Why?
Because she was loved too much, apparently, and it was causing her distress. So he took it. The Shaggy Man realizes the magnet served its purpose in getting him safely to Oz, but now that he's in a land where affection is supposedly universal and earned, he doesn't need the external aid of a stolen charm anymore.
So, the mechanism of forced love, which propelled the entire journey, is now deemed obsolete in a society based on genuine mutual affection. What does Ozma, the ruler of this ethical utopia, do with this incredibly powerful, potentially dangerous stolen charm?
She understands its power, but she agrees it's unnecessary for her or her friends, who are loved for who they actually are. Her solution is purely Ozian and beautifully democratic. She plans to hang the love magnet over the gates of the Emerald City, that whoever shall enter or leave the gates may be loved and loving.
Wow. It becomes a public utility, transforming a symbol of personal theft and emotional manipulation into a symbol of universal goodwill and protection for everyone.
Exactly. It's neutralized and repurposed for the common good.
Very clever. The celebration continues with a grand banquet where we get even more intricate details about the logistics of feeding such a mixed-species, mixed-reality society.
The banquet is a spectacle. Features a 500-piece orchestra. We learn about the segregated seating arrangements, the animals, including Toto, who gets a high chair.
Toto in a high chair.
And Bellina and her 10 Dorothys on a low stand. They all eat at a separate table. And perhaps most uniquely, the non-eaters, the Scarecrow, Tick-Tock, the Candy Man from a previous book, they just observe the feast, reminding us that Oz is populated by beings with vastly different needs and modes of existence.
It's incredibly inclusive in its own way, and the parade the next morning sounds like a celebration of both the ridiculous and the sublime.
It's pure Oz pageantry. It begins with 1,000 girls scattering red roses. Then come the 4 subsidiary rulers of Oz. Then the army.
The Army of Oz, always a highlight.
The army of 27 officers, and it's noted there are no privates, only officers who look important, which is just a wonderful satirical jab at military hierarchy.
Love it. Any other unique elements?
The most unique element is probably the living, hollow blue bear rug.
The living blue bear rug.
Apparently created by accident when someone spilled moth powder, which turned out to be the powder of life, on it. It just flops down on the path for Ozma to stand upon whenever she pauses in the procession. It's surreal, but apparently beloved. A piece of unintended, slightly creepy magic.
Only in Oz. So the Wizard of Oz himself acts as master of ceremonies for the party.
Yes, the original wizard. He performs magic tricks juggling, producing magical tamorna fruit, with a little help from Glinda's superior magic for the crowds. But his final act is providing the transport home for all the foreign guests.
How does he manage that? Another cyclone?
Something much gentler, surprisingly. It's simple magic. The wizard blows these enormous, strong soap bubbles made tough with glue.
Soap bubbles.
Yep. Guests just step inside, and the bubbles float them gently away towards their homes. The Queen of Maryland, King Bud, Princess Fluff, Queen Zixie, even King Dox and King Kikabray all depart this way. Santa Claus even guides his bubble magically, allowing him to bypass the traditional reindeer for the trip home.
Bubble travel. Efficient and eco-friendly. And the final remaining visitors depart in equally memorable ways, cementing their own magical natures.
Absolutely. Button Bright, the existential blank slate, is put into a bubble floating westward toward the unknown coordinates that only Santa Claus knows. When asked if he's glad to finally be leaving, he still just answers, "Don't know." Consistent to the end.
Ooh, Button Bright. And Polychrome.
Polychrome's farewell is spectacular and entirely fitting for her nature. A rainbow end descends right onto the platform where they're standing. She just dances along it, up into the sky, gradually melting and dissolving into the colors as she ascends until she's completely invisible. She returns to her atmospheric origin.
Beautiful imagery. Okay, we reach section 8 now, the conclusion. Only Toto and the Shaggy Man, who has declared he's staying, remain with Dorothy. How does Dorothy, the constant bridge between these worlds, return to her life of churning butter and washing dishes?
Ozma ensures her return swiftly and gently using the powerful magic belt and artifact from an earlier adventure. While Dorothy is asleep that night, she and Toto are transported instantly back to Kansas.
So she just wakes up back home.
She wakes up in her own little bed in the Kansas farmhouse. The implication is that Aunt Em will be utterly astonished by her sudden, unexplained reappearance, completing the cyclical nature of her adventures. Back to the mundane until the next time.
Right. Looking back at the whole journey then, we traverse those two really satirical societies, the foxes and the donkeys, before finally reaching the philosophical utopia of Oz. What was the central critique Baum seemed to be making about those external fairylands they passed through?
It seems both the fox and donkey kingdoms were built on different forms of vanity, different kinds of pride, that led to really bizarre forms of cruelty or absurdity. The foxes championed that elaborate, superficial civilization defined by status fancy clothes, avoiding the natural but maintained a cruel, predatory diet hidden beneath the feathers. The donkeys championed anti-intellectualism and this idea of inherent, unearned wisdom, using flattery and just sheer noise as their primary currency. And significantly, both philosophies resulted in rigid one-way magic that trapped the travelers in those unfortunate transformations. Their magic reflected their inflexible worldviews.
That's a great point. And the core difference between these lands and Oz itself seems to be this concept of scarcity and self-interest, or rather, the lack thereof in Oz.
Exactly. What really stands out is that Oz, as presented here, has supposedly solved basic social conflicts by eliminating money, class, and the scarcity that drives greed. It relies instead on mutual kindness and love a system where the Shaggy Man's philosophy of anti-materialism can genuinely thrive without needing external magical shields like a stolen magnet.
And the Truth Pond reinforces that.
Yes. The Truth Pond literally forces an honest moral accounting of one's actions, demonstrating that even magically induced affections are ultimately meaningless compared to genuine goodness and honesty. Truth is the final corrective.
Okay, so we've seen that Oz solved its societal problems by eliminating money and class, relying instead on love and kindness, thereby creating what looks like a utopian society.
Yeah.
But here's a thought to leave you with. If a society removes the incentive of financial greed and material class, does that just simply transfer the need for external validation onto something else, maybe like fame or influence?
Interesting question.
For instance, Dorothy is instantly recognized and elevated, partly because of her status as a princess, her connection to Ozma. The Shaggy Man, even after the Truth Pond, still seemed to need that constant external affection he got from the magnet, even if he admitted it was stolen. King Dox was terrified of ridicule, and the portrayal of his species by Aesop, he craved respect, or at least feared disrespect.
So if monetary wealth is gone, what replaces it as currency?
Exactly. What ultimately is the true underlying currency of the Land of Oz? Is it fame? Is it magical ability? Is it genuine love? Or is it just the appearance of universal affection, maintained by things like the love magnet over the gate? What truly motivates people there?
That's a really provocative thought. What is the real measure of value in utopia?
This is something for you to consider the next time you step onto a road and find 17 paths instead of 5.